peace and love. We start in 2 minutes. Well, thank you, JoJo Peanut. This is Will Dick with the Art of Floundering podcast as well as Spanky's Radio. We got 1 minute to go before showtime. If you're watching on a stream, you're watching the latest from us, man. The latest incarnation. We're going to talk about that when we go live, man. But there's a little treat. Before we go live, man, this is 2 minutes, 37 seconds of your time. Afterwards, we go live. This is episode 1 of The Amazing Slacker. Spanky's Puppets and Comics in partnership with... Well, we're not going to do that because we do not have the correct one. And that's okay, man. Now we do. Spanky's Puppets and Comics in partnership with the Art of Floundering podcast present The Amazing Slacker. Part 1. Hi, you may know me. I'm Biff Martin, CEO and founder of Penetron, your bestest pal in the pharmaceutical industry. I have some pretty gosh darn exciting news. I know what you're thinking. What could be more exciting than our penis pumps? Well, hang on to your hats, shareholders, because I'll tell you what's more exciting than our penis pumps. Penetrating a virgin market. And if you know anything about Penetron, you know this. Pulling out is not the Penetron way. We intend to go all in with the full width and depth of our corporate presence. And we will not be pulling out. Instead, we're going to keep it in there. Because when you penetrate a virgin market, the only way you're going to stimulate growth is by not pulling out. And cut. Okay, Mr. Martin, we'll let you know if we need anything else. Gee golly, Mr. Martin, that was inspiring. Gee whiz, Mr. Martin, the financial assumptions that you're making me use look like we're trying to prop up the stock price. And gee whiz, Mr. Martin, it feels like were that to happen, I would be the only one to get in trouble. Gee whiz, Tim, you know we would always have your back at Penetron. Besides, you're just nervous. You haven't penetrated a virgin market before. But I have. Lots of them. In fact, I've penetrated so many virgin markets, I've had to say no to some of them. Gee whiz, Mr. Martin. I believe whatever you're saying is correct. What do you say, Tim? Are you on board? I really need you to quarterback this one for me, buddy. What the fuck am I doing with my life? This would be the first of many times Tim Head would ask that question. But for now, Tim was on his journey to ultimately become the Amazing Slacker. Well, that was smooth. Welcome. This is in partnership with the Art of Floundering podcast. This is Spanky's Radio number 2. This is streaming as a podcast, traditional audio format over on Podbeam. And as well as the Art of Floundering Twitch page, the Spanky's Puppets and Comics YouTube page, and the Spankies and Comics Facebook page. And it's interesting, the title of this podcast. Real quick. It's a Spanky's radio show, so it's not a live puppet show. It's just where we talk about, this particular space, which is initially started as a distraction for me in order to deal with, accept my new life following a traumatic accident that kept me in chronic pain and unable to do much beyond maybe sit for a couple hours a day. So I started doing this as a way to distract myself. But somewhere along the way, I thought, I'm starting to really dig doing this. And what I mean is, people may not find the content good. They may say it is rather, somebody called it esoteric once. I have come to believe that the real meaning of esoteric is it sucks, and they don't want to tell you that they fucking hate it. It's hard to balance the needs of insanity with creating good content. But I told myself, I'm going to do this because, quite frankly, right now, it's the only thing I can do. The only thing I'm physically capable of doing is creating these puppet shows. It's the only thing I can do. So I'm going to try to do the best job I can at it. And so with that, for example, here's a great example. Hang on. Jojo Peanut says, before the podcast, he goes, "This is a great podcast. How come nobody's here?" And that's the problem I struggle with Spanky's radio right now. Spanky's, is I put a lot of work into these, and I can't get anybody, I can't get a sniff. If it sucks, I don't know, because I can't even get anybody to take the first step and watch it. See, I'm sure there's all kinds of things I can do, but all those things will probably cause me aggravation to my back and shit. I wish there was somebody that would tell me how I can better market this. I think, I know I'm old. So, where else is there to stream? I wish Instagram supported, openly supported. Because I'd like to stream this to Instagram, and I'd like to stream the live puppet shows to TikTok. I guess. I don't know. I'm on the fence with TikTok. I don't want to build China's fucking AI database with my Western behavior that they can use to control us. So I don't want to speed that inevitable process up. So let's get back to, the marketing of Spanky's. I'm going to try to narrow the stories. In other words, instead of having 50,000 series, I'm just going to introduce the characters, as we go along. And I really enjoy doing this. this, man. And I hope, like I said, I hope anybody, man, tell me what you think if you stumble on this. If you're listening to this, if you're one of the few that actually listen to this stuff, do me a favor, man. I really would like some not an up arrow, or a fucking a little emoji. Even if it's shit. God, I'm at the point where I'm so starved for human reaction that I'll take it via a comment. So look, we've got off. We're kind of off topic for the fun and frolic of Spankies, man. So needless to say, coming up this week, we're gonna have 2 brand new episodes. One that's a continuation of our Spanky series, and while I can't like let me give people a treat that even bother to watch this, man. Hang on. Da-da. That's an office scene. Let's see how we want to do this, man. Do I got it set up right? Hopefully I got it set up right. Bear with me. Oh shoot. If I didn't, I'm a real poopy pants, man. Hang on. Oh well, it doesn't really matter because I don't want to get too carried away with puppets, but I'll just tell you this. Man, said Chad, it's a real bummer, man. I really wish I would have listened to my authority figures. Instead, I thought I knew it all. Now, I'm doing time for the pod. And guess who else is joining, Chad? Karen. So, we are obviously going to be taking advantage of the opportunity this represents, dude. Boom. There they are. In the fucking Who Scout, dude. And you can be in the Who Scout too, if you choose to do the pod. So, needless to say, coming at you is if you've been following the podcast, Chad and Karen were abducted and probed by an intergalactic alien, man. And you see, after they were probed, the aliens, if you don't believe me, here's what Chad looked like. Well, being probed. Hey, Chad, said the aliens. You're gonna have to keep it down there, Tiger. And stay still. Otherwise, we're gonna have to keep repeating the test. And eventually, Chad took it. But it's not pretty, is it? No. There's Chad on weed. Hang on for a second, dude. Chad tried to start some shit with another pothole. Hello, Nadav. Welcome to Spanky's Radio. What Spanky's is Spanky's is a puppet show that has since turned into an animated feature / comic book that I started as a response to life throwing me a few punches. And anyway, we're talking about how to better market this insanity. And as you can see by the characters, gang, of Chad and Karen, they come back. Now, to have some of this will sound odd because you're on the tail end of a story, but if you can hang on, you'll be on the beginning of another story. But after Chad and Karen got abducted by the aliens, they met with Officer Polar. And after telling Officer Polar their tale, he was convinced that they were indeed on the pot, and henceforth threw them in the hoosegow. And now Chad and Karen are not getting therapy for their trauma of their alien abduction. Instead of getting therapy, they're in the hoosegow. And now they're part of a scared straight off the pot program where Chad and Karen will now rap to wayward youth, man. Like perhaps the gray area. The wayward youth out there, man, that are struggling with things like the pot addiction. Now, back to this is not a puppet show. To explain, what we do here at Spanky's when I do puppet shows or any kind of live content, marijuana is typically the thing that I point to as the root of all evil. Why do I do this? Because it represents one of the many things that all of us are told, or at least I was told when I was young, that didn't pan out. So it's just kind of fun to josh something, that's relatively benign. But anyway, and if you'd stay off the pot, you wouldn't be like Chad and Karen. And I'll tell you, someone else that's headed straight for the hoosegow is Nucky the Clown College Dropout. For those of you that have been following the series, Knuckles could have had it all. You see, Knuckles was from the rough and tumble streets of Atlantic City, and Nucky was a natural when it came to the clown game. So much so that the prestigious Atlantic City Clown College offered him a full-ride scholarship. And Nucky thrived, dude. He took to it. He was a protege. And by the time it was his senior year, it was obvious he was going to graduate some cum laude, man. Valedictorian. And, go on his way to a thriving clown career. He was one of the best. Could have been the best. But he flubbed up, didn't you, Nucky? Because Nucky couldn't say no to a little hemp. And there he was, supposed to be doing a family-friendly show somewhere in BFE, Idaho. And Nucky started tripping, man, on some local fucking homegrown strain, man. Idaho polygamy weed, dude. And he was flying, Jack. And by the time Nucky took the stage, he was hallucinating. He was like, yo, I see 3 different stages. I think I'll run down the one in the middle, which was the correct thing to do. But Nucky didn't realize he was still holding not only that, but massive amounts of drug paraphernalia. And as he was running down the stage, all the bongs and dope tools came falling out of Nucky the clown, future clown's fucking costume, and he fucking fell, thus by traumatizing the entire family-friendly audience. After being expelled, Nucky couldn't find a gig. You see, there's a lot of weirdos out there. And if you don't have the stamp of Clown College graduate, good luck. And so Nucky's been working the punk rock circuit, man. But stay tuned for Nucky Part 2, because he may get a shot. That is, if he doesn't accidentally get high by accident, all of a sudden a bong fell into my hand. That's normally Nucky's story. There I was, on the way to help someone cross the street before doing charity work, and a bong fell into my hand. Yeah, Nucky. So look, kids, You think this gives me a lot of pleasure? You think I get my jollies in coming on these and going, hey, here are the wonderful cast of characters we created, all of which are struggling. The only one is Officer fucking Polar, who will not hesitate to crack all of you in skull. That's right, yous. Be on the lookout, because we believe there is a lot of potential in Officer Polar. Specifically, we'd like to see Officer Polar's musical chops, as I'm committed to this season. Let me define what this season is. Between now and December 20th, if what they say happens, and keep in mind, break from character for a second, I follow the Stockdale paradox. I don't doubt that I will find a way out of this spinal injury. I'm pessimistic about words. I'll believe the surgery happens when it does. However, that's this season, and I want to incorporate musical numbers. The first one, Officer Polar, and the title of the song is Ewins is a Degenerate, Spanky. Ewins is a degenerate, Spanky, and Hughes knows it. Come on, I think we all know the words. Ewins is a degenerate, Spanky, and Hughes is a pothead. Gonna get brain and go straight to Palookaville. Dun dun dun. Right? I have a vision of taking this to Broadway, man. I did have this vision. I used to call it a pitch to a venture capitalist. I threw up a picture that I animated. And if anybody watches the puppet shows, they know my style of animation. For the sake of argument, I don't have that exact establishment, but you can rest assured that in my arsenal, I probably have something equally filthy somewhere in here. But anyway, it is an adult establishment, and it was in a town of Valley Brook. People go, what the hell's Valley Brook, dude? You're always rapping about Valley Brook. Valley Brook's in Oklahoma, but these kind of towns exist everywhere. It's between Norman, which is where I live, which is where the university is. The suburban dream, so to speak. In Oklahoma City, your modern, hustling, bustling, modern American city. And it's just this little exit on the way between there, a little unincorporated piece of dirt where chaos can ensue. And what does Valley Brook possess? Well, they have 4 metal buildings that claim they're adult nightclubs. They have a rather nuanced church and a police department that has like a lot of really nice, expensive stuff for such a small population, which is about a fucking square mile of shit. But Valley Brook's easy to forget. Hence, it's part of a lot of what I try to say with the quote art. If anybody takes a look at Spanky's environment, the environment that I have Spanky, the protagonist, in, he lives in chaos, dude. Everything around him's falling apart. His house, everything. That's intentional, dude. Here's some of Spanky's vibe right here. This is the stairwell to his house. The kitchen has eviction notices. The living room, it's like straight out of Crack House today, dude. So, if you notice that, thank you for noticing it. Also notice I never comment on it. I just throw it out there. It's part of my way of taking the things that we like to look the other way and sort of, I don't know, putting them in a different context, so to speak. So you can't look the other way. Thereby, you're now paying attention to things that you used to ignore. And it's a deep thing that fucking weed has a tendency to fucking stoke up, dude. But anyway, I would say in this pitch, and let me move Officer Polar out of the way. I would say, hey, venture capitalists, can you imagine? Maybe the person that can cure my spinal injury one day is in Valley Brook. But we would never know, because all we do with Valley Brook is either shit on it or ignore it. So I wanted to convert that. This is insane. That former unsold brick building that looks very similar to what's on the stream. That used to be, it was an unsold adult nightclub. I wanted to convert that into, let me paint a picture. Now that the pandemic's over, Chad and Karen are sitting around the breakfast table going, gee gosh, Chad, what do you think we should do with the kids today? Gee golly, Karen, I don't really know. Then Junior pops up. Hey, Mommy, Daddy, I heard about a super duper peachy keen family friendly puppet show. Wow, said Mom. That sounds really neato. Then Dad says, gee whiz, it's in Valley Brook. Mom goes, we shouldn't go there. Then Junior goes, gee golly whiz, Mom and Dad, I thought you taught us not to judge. So then the whole family heads from their suburban dream to Valley Brook, to this former adult nightclub that is now a family-friendly puppet show. And they get a little suspicious because when they walk in, Chad and Karen are like, gee whiz, that smells like the narcotic marijuana is being used. And then the show begins. And needless to say, family friendly becomes a very, it depends on your perspective type term, because the show that ensues for Chad and Karen is pure filth. And it is put together and produced and everything soup to nuts from the people that live in Valley Brook. And I can go on and on and on. Venture capitalists didn't respond. Gee whiz, can you imagine a look on Chad and Karen's face when all of a sudden, because I was going to have this puppet show where this Spanky, he was like, gee golly gosh, he's like this really good kid. And he gets talked into doing weed. Gee, Jiminy, gee golly gosh, I don't think that's the right thing. Oh, come on, Spanky Daddy-O. Everybody's doing grass, man. Don't you want to fit in? Gee golly, Jiminy gosh. And then so Spanky gets high, dude. And the next thing you know, it's like, dun, dun, dun. Golly gosh, let's go rob a bank. You know, were it not for the pot, Spanky be in school right now. Instead, he's in jail for bank robbery. Dun, dun, dun. And this could be you, kids. You know, this kind of stuff. So, anyway, enough. Back to the point. How does one market this filth? Like I said, I would be great with, hey, this sucks. Because at least people gave it a shot. Not knowing it sucks is, I'm just talking shit. I'm going to continue doing these things. For those that are listening on Podbean, if you're confused as hell, I'm sorry. I'll try to rephrase. In addition to doing a podcast that I try to not be ridiculously immature on, but fail miserably, I also do this, what started as a puppet show. It's called Spanky's. Now it's called Spanky's Puppets and Comics. Why? Because 2 years ago it started as a puppet show. Then my spinal injury made it really difficult to hold puppets. So then I started animating all the puppets, not in a good way, but in a unique way. If you watch them, it's a unique look. In anticipation of not being able to spend a lot of time animating, I am beginning to do a little comic book thing with them. Why am I doing this? Because I'm insane. Well, first, it helped me escape pain, and I talked about this. I'm not talking about it. But I also see a path out of this through creating filth. I think there's nobility. So when you watch these this year, and you see that Santa Claus himself is struggling with marijuana addiction, and much to the dismay of Mrs. Claus, he continues to go about feeding not only his marijuana addiction, but Santa's got a kink, dude. So you'll have to tune in for that, dude. Because last year's Christmas special was Santa's got a brand new bag, and it's marijuana. This year, because Santa was like, ho, 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 Santa will once again be socially distancing himself from each and every one of you ungrateful fucking people. Year after year, it's never enough. Santa had it, dude. He had it. Mrs. Claus was like, St. Nick, are you smoking weed again? And Santa's like, how come you're always on my ass, Mrs. Claus? You think I need this shit? I'm fucking out of here. And he fucking grabbed the fucking sled and bolted. He didn't take Rudolph, because Rudolph's a bit of a fucking narc, man. Because some of Santa's super duper wonderful stuffed animals that he brought back to life, man, like Polly the polar bear, are on grass. They got hooked when the abominable snowman fucking showed them how to fucking perfect growing weed in Arctic conditions. And so they started growing their own homegrown, man. They got their own thing going. Santa looks the other way because Santa's baked himself. He's like, fuck it, dude. How did all this start? How does it always start, man? It's the communists. Fucking Kim Jong-un started this, dude. And if you just like, subscribe, and review, you'll get the truth. If you don't, go forth and be ignorant to what's really fucking happening, dude. Okay? Kim Jong-un fucking got Santa hooked on North Korean Kush, dude. That's phase 1 of the plan. Because Kim Jong-un got tired of fucking Putin and Z the Pooh Bear making fun of him all the time. And he didn't feel like he was fitting in. He said, fuck it, I'm going to do my own thing. So he started cultivating the world's greatest fucking weed, dude. The missile program was just a front to distract his real fucking plan. And you take one hit of North Korean Kush, man, you can't come back. There's no other weed. I'm telling you, it's righteous, dude. It sells itself. Kim Jong-un just wants a little love, man. He ain't trying to hurt anybody. He's just like, hey, man, look. Can't I sling my fucking death? Can't I sling my narcotic weed? Just another weed narcotic dealer on the street, man. You have to tune in for these kind of facts. Admittedly, when we come back to the marketing challenge, I think I just summed up the challenge. How does one market what I just described, which could best be summarized charitably as the rantings of a madman? Well, what you can do in these instances is shake your head, nod, and humor the fucking crazy SOB. That's what I do to myself every morning. Because I ask these questions. Dude, you've been dealing with this level of pain. See, I'm not complaining. This is not a complaint. It's recognition. I find when I recognize the environment, I can better navigate it. Most people, all people that experience chronic pain, like at this level, spinal pain, there's people that are way worse. that's this consistent lose their fucking mind. I've decided that if I'm going to do that, let's at least try to get a skill on the way out, right? Now I feel like my puppet shows are like this manifesto, man, that no one's gonna watch. And then I've got to ask myself, they must suck. Or, and they probably do, I don't know, but I'd like to find out. I think the kids are ready to get off the dope. And I think superheroes like Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid are pretty gosh darn needed right now. Who's Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid? I can almost hear what people are saying, the uninformed. Well, there's Tommy, man, who by day is just a regular good kid, man. And here's Tommy now. Gee golly, Penelope. Oh, it looks like Tommy's on a date. I get real tingly down there every time we're together. Gee whiz, Tommy, you may want to work on your game and smooth that out a little bit. Penelope says, golly gosh, Tommy, you know you're a good friend and only a friend because I like Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid. Tommy finds himself once again in the friend zone. Gee whiz, Tommy, it looks like you'll be spending a lot of time in the bathroom with the J.C. Penney catalog, huh, Tiger? Just then, Tommy said, you better back off, pal. That's not part of my agenda. That's right, kids, because Tommy is really a Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid, man. And when trouble arises, if Tommy's off being some kind of degenerate tossing off to a fucking J.C. Penney's catalog, how the hell can he fucking raise to the standards of being a superhero? No. You see, when trouble arises, Tommy, to get his superpower, does all of his homework, obeys all of his authority figures without question. Without question. Obeys all of his authority figures without question. That's the key. And always does the right thing, plans for his future, and most importantly, he is not 420 friendly. That happens, poof. That's right, kids. It's Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid, and you cannot fucking fly high while on the pot. Isn't that right, Super Duper? That's right. So tune in for more, man, because there may be a run-in with Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid and Kim Jong-un. But even when I tried to stretch the boundaries of superheroes and I told myself, let's get creative, some of the things I do is I don't get out much. But when I do, like when I have to go to a ketamine appointment or some doctor's appointment, I'll tell myself, you've got to find the most boring and named landmark thing and make an animation out of it, a puppet show centered around it. So, with that in mind, we created a superhero, man, that's a little gosh darn different. I need you to have an open mind. The superhero's name is Slider, man. Slider is a super-powered jar of Astroglide, dude. And he will, it's a legit superhero animation I created out of a tube of Astroglide, dude. And he will, when trouble arises, he will drop his super-powered sexual lubricant petroleum gel, man, and grease the skids of justice. That's right, commies. If you think you can deal dope in America, you're gonna have to deal with Slider. Gee golly gosh, Slider. And there's Slider. Interestingly, in what must have been the throes of the pot, as I was entering the hallucination phase of my high, I sent a little something about Slider to the good folks at Astroglide, thinking that they would see the marketing opportunity that I saw. Wouldn't it be neat to have a marketing campaign where Slider comes in and saves the day by dropping his superpowered glue? He's got a little orange afro. He's cute, dude. He's cute. Astroglide probably, instead of responding to that message, if anybody even got it, it went to some special block crazy list, I'm sure. You see, what I'm convinced is great is ridiculously not. And as I go down this path, man, I'm like, hopefully, soon, something will break my way in this surgery and, this will happen. Or something. Otherwise, I have no idea what else is to come. I mean, you tell me. Well, you don't have to tell me. The lack of views. I even did a musical number to like La Bamba Slider, dun dun dun. Yeah, put it up there. Even put it on TikTok. I'm convinced, man. I mean, like I said, I don't do any of this for that kind of jive. But as I look at the space, the options for people like me, I see they're pretty fucking limited. And so I at least want to get some cred so I can say, hey, man, don't worry about the content. All the shit that I'm doing to produce the content, let's teach people that are like me to do this so they can do really cool, fun stuff and not be limited by this fucking hell that these conditions can be. Then I can go on, but fuck it, this is Spanky's radio, not the Art of Floundering radio, where I go on with my hippie shit. I gave you guys a little taste of what's to come with Spanky's. The amazing slacker, the all-new superhero, who is able to solve any problem by doing nothing. I decided to reboot that series. And episode 1's done. And take my time with that. We really need to explore Tim Head, aka the amazing slacker, before he had his accident and transformation. Because I didn't do a good enough job. So I'm going to spend 1 or 2 episodes just showing kind of the person Tim Head is before this accident. Because he was all in with the company, man. Gee golly whiz. Because one day, if Tim worked hard enough, man, Penetron make a middle management. Dude, that day happens. That's big time. Middle management for Penetron. And Tim Head toiled for good old Penetron. It's a good thing Penetron says that they always have everybody's back. Because if anything were to ever happen to Tim, gee whiz, I think anybody that's worked for fucking corporate America, they can probably attest to this. That organization's going to come running to do the right thing. Needless to say, when Tim got in a life-changing accident on the corporate train, he was a little bit surprised when the company said they couldn't help him out. Until the CEO and founder, Biff Martin, said, gee whiz, Tim, golly gosh, tough break. My hands are tied on this one because, you see, even though we ordered you, the accident happened on Sunday. And gosh, that's not your scheduled work day. Gosh, Tim, you're on your own. Tim was able to navigate that. But now he's a different person. Is he bitter? Well, he went through that. And he went through a great change to recognize that all this was for a reason. And the reason was not punishment or to make him miserable. It was so he can access what was always within him. What was in him when it came time to potty train. And he's like, I don't want to go do that. How about I just continue to shed in this diaper and you clean it up? Or when it came to school. And all these things, Tim knew he was different. You see, Tim didn't want to do anything. He thought he was odd. There was something wrong. Even as he tried to fake it in corporate America. Tim's 5-year plan was to do nothing. And then Tim got hurt. And after several experiences that we'll discuss later, he was able to access that superpower. And now, when there's real trouble, like that gets beyond the scope of Super Duper Peachy Keen Kid or Slider, and the government calls on the amazing slacker, and Tim Head smokes the pot and transforms himself from mild-mannered, anonymous lackey to the amazing slacker. Oh my gosh, the amazing slacker's here. What are we gonna do? In most cases, he doesn't even talk. Just sits there and smokes weed. Just watch the stories. He solves the problem by doing nothing. The inspiration to that, in a previous life, I worked in engineering, program management type stuff, life cycle type stuff, where, the stuff you have out there, you got to make sure that it can be taken care of 10, 15 years down the line. Well, this guy was panicking. Oh no, we're going to run out of these graphic cards. Oh my God. And he's spent months doing this fucking analysis. And he's fucking been in a lab coming up with solution after fucking solution. And I go, aren't they gonna fucking totally change this fucking PC out? Yeah. Next year. Doesn't that make whatever you do irrelevant? Yeah. So why don't you just do fucking nothing, man? Because as these things blow up, they're gonna get replaced. And I bawled the line from Office Space. I said, the best thing you can do right now is absolutely fucking nothing. And it can be everything. And then I looked out at the world and how many opportunities there are to do nothing and solve problems. So I hope you'll join me and us for that journey. With that said, this has been a blast. This has been Spanky's Radio. We're going to have to crash. Please like, follow, subscribe, review, all that. For those of you at Podbean, it's going to be confusing because this is being broadcast on the Art of Floundering podcast. Like that too. But also, please go to YouTube. Type in Spanky's Puppets and Comics. Take a look at the content. If you dig it, subscribe and hit the notification. And maybe even do a like, do a comment. Those things that help me build a little bit of momentum. If you don't dig it, no biggie, man. It's not everybody's cup of tea. With that said, from Atlantic City and parts unknown Colorado, this is the Art of Floundering podcast, as well as Spanky's Puppets and Comics. Good night.